Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this hearing today. And also like to welcome our witnesses and really appreciate you taking the time to be here. The first thing that must be said when considering the fiscal state of the Union is that we are having this discussion from a place of economic stability and strength that would have been unimaginable 2 years ago. And I know I began our last hearing by reciting this, and I'll do so again because it is worth remembering. In March of 2021, exactly 2 years ago, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office was projecting that unemployment would remain above 4% for the rest of the decade. But after the passage of the American Rescue Plan, that picture changed dramatically. Unemployment fell rapidly, and the speed and size of our economic recovery has made America the envy of the world. Experts at Moody's Analytics found that the American Rescue Plan helped create 4 million additional jobs and doubled GDP growth in 2021. Today, American workers have benefited from a record 12.4 million jobs created since President Biden took office. So there is no doubt the American Rescue Plan dramatically changed our fiscal state for the better. But it was a response to a once-in-a-generation pandemic and the associated economic crisis, not a permanent fix to address underlying issues impacting our society and our economic outlook. Which brings me to my next point. We agree, our nation does face long-term fiscal challenges. Our population, like most in the Western world, is aging. So healthcare, Social Security, and Medicare costs are rising. Rising inequality is making our country more vulnerable to recessions and other economic shocks, hampering growth. Climate disruptions are becoming more frequent and more expensive. And we lag peer nations in investments in children, especially in the early years of their lives, where you get the best bang for your buck. And yes, deficits and debt are projected, especially in the next decade, to reach levels that simply none of us would be comfortable with. So we're seeing a similar picture, and we do have very different ideas as to where the solutions lie. Democrats have used our fiscal space to make responsible, pro-growth investments that strengthen our communities and our economy while paying down the deficit. That's why Democrats followed up on the success of the Rescue Plan with historic legislation to set our nation and people up for long-term success, including the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the CHIPS and Science Act, FY 22 and 23 appropriations bills, and the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, I do want to address where I think there is some disagreement. Republicans believe we can cut our way to a balanced budget. That's not only false, it's dangerous. Analysis from the nonpartisan CBO proves this. An attempt to balance the budget without touching Social Security, Medicare, defense spending, veterans mandatory spending, and without increased revenues would require eliminating every program, every service, and every investment Americans count on. In the end, it still wouldn't balance the budget, but it would gut government to the point society would no longer be able to function. These types of proposals have devastating consequences. Dr. Zandi and Moody Analytics released a projection a few weeks ago that showed these policies would cause a recession in 2024, eliminate 2.5 million jobs, and push unemployment to about 6%. We can't escape the bottom line. To tackle our long-term fiscal challenges, we need to rebalance our tax code and prioritize investments with a high rate of return. For there is no better investment than investing in the American people. And with that, and just under the 5 minutes, I want to thank our witnesses for being here. I look forward to their testimony, and I yield back the remaining 14 seconds.